Oh, Henry Ford. I think the great industrialist of the American economy. That we need more Henry Fords. This guy, I got a lot of respect for him. I know he's got a couple controversial things, but to me, I don't know if it was really. He's not a bad guy. He's a very good guy. That's my opinion. But I want to get down to some of the things he did that were revolutionary. I think a lot of people know about the Ford car. Of course, you know, the mass production, assembly line method and everything. But he was also a pioneer of welfare capitalism designed to improve the lot of his workers and especially reduce the heavy turnover that many departments had, hiring 300 men per year to fill 100 slots. So they lost efficiency, they lost skills, and they had to keep retraining people. Efficiency meant hiring and keeping the best workers. So Ford astonished the world in 1914 by offering $5 per day wage, $120 today, which is more than double the rate of the most of his workers. At Cleveland, Ohio, a newspaper editorialized that the announcement shot like a blinding rocket through the dark clouds of the present industrial depression. So he was revolutionary what he did with his workforce too. And he actually helped a lot of the people that were immigrants blend into the American way of life, and you know, basically kind of gave them a little training program. Maybe it was a little regimented, but still, it was good intentions. The move proved extremely profitable. Instead of constant turnover of employees, the best mechanics in Detroit flocked to Ford, bringing their human capital and expertise, raising productivity and lowering training costs. And actually, raising productivity is the most important thing as to go into true wealth. Raising productivity. It's not how much money you have, it's how much people actually produce. You know, and the producers are the geese that lay the golden eggs. So Ford took very good care of those people. That's very important, because without the geese that lay the golden eggs, there will be no eggs. Very important concept. It also set a new reduced work week. Something, you know, these are new, you know, everybody else at that time was like a little petty tyrant that was up on top of the industrial world. Ford could have took that route, but he didn't take that route, and he did some new things, and it turned out better for him and better for everybody across the board. So I highly respect this guy. Peace and war. Ford opposed war, which he thought was a terrible waste. That is an axiom. That is true. War is a terrible waste. Ford became highly critical of those who had felt financed war and tried to stop them. In 1915, the pacifist Schwimminger, whatever his name is, gained favor with Ford, who agreed to fund a peace ship into Europe where World War I was raging. He and about 170 other prominent peace leaders traveled there. Ford's Episcopalian pastor, Reverend Samuel Marcus, accompanied him on the mission. Marcus headed Ford's sociology department from 1913 to 1921. Ford talked to President Woodrow Wilson about the mission, but had no government support. You know, this is President Woodrow Wilson, who supposedly said, "We'll keep the United States out of war." Yeah, yeah, they owned him. But anyway, his Ford's group went to neutral Sweden and the Netherlands to meet with peace activists, and they were a target of much ridicule, which was freaking stupid on the part of the middle class, because they're the ones who are going to fight the war. He's trying to stop it, and the middle class is basically, I don't know what the heck the middle. This was the target of a lot of ridicule. Very stupid, but to ridicule this, because you know what happened. I mean, it just dragged on and dragged on and dragged on. And, you know, of course, you have the lost generation in World War I. It occurred because there were so many people that were so disillusioned by all the destruction that went on. They just, you know, some people were just like a lost generation, as they call it. Anyway, Ford had opposed America's entry into World War II. Now they're talking about World War II and Ford's mental collapse. I don't know if he did or didn't, but, you know, they always, you know, this is straight off a wiki, but I'm going to comment a little bit more on this. And Ford had opposed America's entry into World War II and continued to believe that international business could generate the prosperity that would head off wars. That, I think, is true, because it's basically when there's a downturn, people start fighting over things. But when everybody has wealth and wealth is actually, true wealth is actually from production of goods and services, people tend to get along better. So I think his basic concept that if you can generate prosperity, it would head off wars. I think that's, and actually today, we're probably in a big danger for a major war sometime, not too far off, because there seems to be an economic downturn throughout the globe. History repeats itself. But Ford's concept of prosperity head off wars is good. Ford insisted that the war was the product of greedy financiers who sought profit in human destruction. In 1939, he went so far as to claim that the torpedoing of U.S. merchant ships by German submarines was the result of conspiratorial activities undertaken by financier war makers. And you know what? That is not such a conspiracy. I hate to say it. Well, I don't hate to say it, but the main target, and this is before there ever was any kind of word of Holocaust or anything like that, the main target of the American establishment was Germany, and went after. They could not get Germany to attack the United States. They could not get Germany to fire the first shot. What they had to do was they had to get Japan to fire the first shot. So they had an alliance with Germany. They did not attack Japan initially. They attacked Germany. There was some conspiratorial type activities going on, and the Roosevelt administration was flat out owned by big business. I tell you, I think Henry Ford was the 100% good guy. Now, whether he was pointing out, according to this, it says the financiers to whom he was referring was Ford's code word for Jews. Now, I don't even know if he says that or not, but who cares? If somebody was a Jew and he points him out, so what? If he's pointing out a fact, so what? It's not a smear against an entire people. He's making a specific point against an individual. And I know that Prescott Bush was very much involved in the Nazis during that time, and he's not Jewish. So, I mean, it's not like it's all in one area, but sometimes I think there's this fear that if there's some criticism, well, how far can that go? Because there's a paranoia out there. But Ford was not anti-Semitic, in my opinion. He had accused Jews of fomenting the First World War. See the section of anti-Semitism below. That may have been partly true of certain people. And if you look at the Bolshevik Revolution, that used to be referred to as the Jewish Revolution. Now, is that the Jewish Revolution as the Jewish people freaking plotted this? No, that could have been a couple people on the top doing it, but that's just how it works. And, I don't know how they're going to construe this on YouTube or not, but I'm being blatantly honest about this because I think people are very aware of different things about anti-Semitism and everything like that. But I do not consider Henry Ford anti-Semitic. I think this guy was very much on the side of the common man, improving the welfare and conditions of the common man, producing more prosperity throughout the earth, and he was very much for world peace. And he proved it by, the ship that was sailing in World War I. Now, if he was critical of a few Jewish businessmen, so be it. That's the way it is. If he's digging out facts, fine. That's the way it goes. That's the way it is. Now people are going to be stupid and freaking believe that because he criticized a few Jewish businessmen that all Jews are bad. I hope that, no, George Henry Ford did not say that, though. And that's the thing, how it's being twisted. Because I get annoyed that this guy gets smeared too much. Henry Ford in the 1920s sponsored a weekly newspaper that published, among many non-controversial articles, strongly anti-Semitic views. At the same time, Ford had a reputation as one of the few major corporations actively hiring black workers, and he was not accused of discrimination against Jewish workers or suppliers. So quite obviously, this guy was not an anti-Semite or a racist. But if he criticized a few Jewish businessmen on the top, so be it. And then he public where I know where he got in trouble was this. He published his protocols of elders of Zion, and actually I don't know if it was him or the guy. Well, he takes the blame because the guy who was working for him published this thing. But I know where he got in trouble. The Germans started picking up every little damn article that the Dearborn Independent issued about any Jew there was, and then they took it like a million yards further and used it in all kinds of campaigns against Jews all throughout Germany. This is where Henry Ford got in trouble. Basically, this is why he catches a lot of heat. Now, was he intending on doing all this stuff that the German policies were doing? Or the Nazi policies? I should really paraphrase that, not call the German policies. The Nazi policies? No. It was a matter of, he printed some facts about, or what one of the guys he was working for was printing some facts about certain Jewish business people in the United States that were doing some things he thought were just for profit, and they would make money off of war. And he published his protocols of elders of Zion and a couple other things like that. But this guy doesn't sit there all day and follow everything that everybody does that it works for him. But I know where he got the heat from was because the Germans or the Nazis took a lot of things that were written in the Dearborn press and they used it as propaganda like crazy. And then the Nazis did all these horrible things to Jews, and they used this as an excuse because they had the justifiable research and all this other garbage. But and Hitler also liked Henry Ford. Well, maybe Hitler likes blondes, so maybe if you like blondes, it means you like you agree with Hitler. Or maybe if you buy a Ford car, maybe that means you're an anti-Semite. I mean, this gets a little ridiculous. So I'm going to state right now, I don't think Henry Ford was an anti-Semite. Period. Okay? I think the guy was a good guy. That's all the way it is. And I could see where this got, because the Nazis took every little stupid thing he said and they used it as an excuse to prove things that weren't true. So that's where he got in trouble too. Plus Hitler liked him, and Hitler modeled his Volkswagen after Henry Ford's concept, which of course doesn't help Henry Ford out very much, but big deal, right? I mean, what the hell does that have to do with Henry Ford? Some guy liked him and some guy wanted to copy the way he did his production of cars, so now the guy's terrible. Yeah, and I guess there's some bad international Jews out there, right? It's probably some, right? Does that mean all the Jews are bad? No. But you know what? I think this guy's got a very unfair shake, because I think this guy, Henry Ford, was really about elevating the common man, doing the best for world peace, and he was very much open to everybody. He hired and dealt with all Jews and blacks. He had there was no racial prejudice going on. And at that time, there was a lot of racial prejudice going on in the country. Like I said, he probably got more trouble and more crap because Hitler liked him. And in every word that was picked up in his Dearborn Independent press, which Henry Ford didn't really write himself. He had a guy working for him that got involved in this junk. And the Nazis took every single word and pushed it out as they take a word and they twist it around, and then this means this and this means that, and they smeared it against everybody. But I don't know. This guy's a good guy. It's bullshit. I don't buy this stuff. I like Henry Ford, and I never bought a Ford yet, but I probably would. I'd buy a Mustang. I wouldn't mind buying a Mustang. So I think this guy's okay. So that's all I got to say about this, and I don't think he was an anti-Semite. Wah.